Hey, Tim Sykes here, and this is a very important video. I'm getting a lot of questions of, just how I'm finding these stocks that I'm trading, how I'm trading them, why I'm trading them the way that I am. This is all rinse and repeat for me, okay? I teach this stuff for 15 plus years now. I've been doing this for a quarter of a century. I'm looking for volatility. I'm looking for big percent gains. I'm looking for news catalysts. And then I'm trying to judge how far it can go. What are the legs? Stocks to Trade had a good tweet yesterday or the other day saying avoid anticipation, instead react to market movements, refrain from playing guessing games, ride the momentum and aim for modest gains. So if you look at my recent trades, again, I'm not like crushing it. I'm not like, oh my God, this is 2020, 2021 all over again. But there are opportunities to profit. And as I've said from the beginning of this year, this is the year to learn, not necessarily earn. And you can learn so much from small gains and small losses and just trying to capitalize and work on your process. I can't encourage you enough to use stocks to trade breaking news. I say it all the time, like 90% of people ignore me. It's crazy. Like, this tool has single-handedly changed my entire trading. It's changing anybody who uses it, not because they alert all the news, but because they curate only the best news. And even then, I'm just looking at a lot of what they alert, and I'm trying to learn to see which catalysts are working best. And then when I see a catalyst working best, I try to take advantage of it. That's what this is. Even if you're not trading, some people say, I don't need breaking news, I'm not trading yet. You need to learn in real time. You need to see the breaking news happen. You need to see how the stock reacts. And then you can start to plan around that, because patterns repeat. History repeats. I know the main disclaimer in this industry is past performance is not indicative of future returns. That's lawyer speak, just to keep people safe. In reality, in data-backed experiments, past performance is indicative of future returns. And you must learn to take advantage of it. It might not be an exact science. Patterns don't work, perfectly every time. But more times than not, when you find a pattern that works, it goes on again and again and again for a limited period of time. It's not like it works forever. So the disclaimer isn't completely wrong. It's just a little misguided. But welcome to this industry where 90% of traders lose. You need these disclaimers, and it's sad. No different than if you watch basketball or football or golf or tennis or baseball, any sport. When a player or an athlete or a team has a play that works and it somehow takes advantage of their opponent's weakness, the team or the athlete will do it again and again and again. If you're a tennis player, I used to be a tennis player. If you're a tennis player and you know that your opponent has a weak backhand, you hit to the backhand over and over and over again. You don't just be like, oh, let me just ignore their weakness and hit to their forehand. In football, if there's, let's say, one weak, cornerback on defense, the quarterback will try that cornerback again and again and again, because there's a statistical edge when you recognize that there is a weakness. If you have two cornerbacks, and cornerbacks, if you don't know football, they're the defensive backs who basically take care of and try to keep the receivers in check. They try to prevent big receptions. But if you have a weak cornerback on one side of the field and a strong cornerback on the other side of the field, you should go after the weak cornerback again and again and again. Okay? If you have a running play in football, this is probably the best example. You might see a team just run the same play 3 times in a row. And it works more times than not. That's what stocks to trade breaking news is. Not that it's perfect, not that I trade every alert, but I'm learning from every single alert, and I'm looking to see which catalysts matter the most, and then I attack those catalysts over and over and over again. And I'll give you an example. I'll give you a few examples. AGRI was, my decent little win yesterday. I wasn't early. I didn't sell at the top. I took the meat of the move. And it was a freaking gimme. And I didn't even get a full position. Like, this is nowhere near like a solid trade. I even linked it wrong. I was in a rush. It was into the market close. Not a great trade. But how did I know that AGRI had legs to spike? And how did I know to get off? Because these stocks also can crash. Because AGRI is the third patent spiker. It is not the first, it is not the second, it is the third in just a few days. Don't believe me? Well, guess what? Look at this. AGRI, 79% gain, fantastic, but it does spike and then it comes down. NIR, this was a patent spiker. Same exact breaking news alert, same exact action. This one just happened, to be better. I think probably because it was earlier in the day. And this week the market has been kind of weak. So not every patent play is going to spike 148%, but AGRI did spike, 79%. And I took like 1/8 of the potential profit. Like I did not nail it. I just took the meat of the move and I got off the train because why? If you look at NIR and DMK, there's actually two of them. They both spiked up big and they crashed big. This is how patent plays have been acting. DMK is the other one. Big spike, big crash, no bounce. Learn. It happens again and again and again. And when I played DMK and NIR back to back, it was because of this. NIR spiked big. Did we do DMK? Yeah, DMK spiked big too. Okay? These are patent plays. I don't care about the patents. I don't care about these companies. I care about the action. And going back to that first tweet, avoid anticipation, instead react to market movements. That's what I did with AGRI. And I, barely made any money. Coulda, woulda, shoulda made much more, but I still protected myself. How did I know to protect myself? Some people were like, come on, Tim, just give it till the next day. No, I'm not just going to give it to the next day. It's the same exact pattern. People just don't know because they're not connecting the patterns. They're not using Stocks to Trade Breaking News. I'll post a link to Stocks to Trade Breaking News underneath this video. We'll see how many of you actually sign up. We'll see how many of you who do sign up even use it every day. It blows my mind how this tool is there to help you. And some people say, oh, Tim, you're an investor in Stocks to Trade, you're biased. I'm very proud to be an investor. And yes, I'm biased because I want to create more millionaires. When you have a tool that that will help other people and they don't want to use it, it's just stupid, okay? It's stupid. It really is. I don't know any other word. I don't know how many times I've said it, and some people make up all kinds of excuses. If you want to learn, if you want to figure out these patterns, use the tools that I give you. I'm trying to help you. I'm not one of these corrupt chat rooms that partners with a prop firm or a brokerage and just tries to get you to trade, where you churn your account because like 90 to 95% of traders you lose. And the chat room or the guru, they don't care. They're all nice. They're like, oh, trading is great. There's a lot of great characters. But in reality, if you actually look, they don't show all their trades. Big problem. It's like submitting a golf scorecard where you're only showing your 3 birdies and not the other 15 holes where you sucked. Welcome to this industry. And the nicest people, especially when they promote using like nice, polite manners, and then they actually throw in religion too. A lot of promoters do this too. It's really kind of sick. And then they don't care whether you make money or not because they're just trying to get you to trade because they're sharing with the broker and the prop firm in the commissions. That is the vast majority of this industry. Stocks to Trade does not make any money. I actually have losses for 2 straight years as a teacher. Why do I work so hard when I lose? Because we're investing in creating more millionaires. Now that we have 30 plus millionaires, I know exactly what I have to do. And I now have the tools and the teamwork to try to create more millionaires. But I can only reach some of you. Some of you just are helpless. That's unfortunately what I have to accept. I can give you the tools. I can give you the education. I give you the path. But so many people make excuses. So I'm never going to stop talking about Stocks to Trade Breaking News as long as it's useful and as long as I know it can really cut down on your learning curve. AGRI is a perfect example. They're alerting it. There's going to be another patent play. I guarantee it. In the next day, in the next 2 days, in the next 3 days, I don't know how much it's going to spike, but probably it's going to spike quite a bit because now you have 3 examples in the past few days. Another pattern that I'm tracking right now, not just NIR, AGRI, DMK, but also this, BNOX. This is one of Stevie Cohen's new investments. Again, Stocks to Trade Breaking News alerted it. Nice 38% gain before it dipped a little bit. BNOX is also a little tricky. But it had a massive spike on the Stevie Cohen news. Where was it? It was one of these spikes. I think it was this one. Was it this one? Yeah, it was this one. And so it had like 2 days of spiking. Not all spikes are created equal. The patent spikes are, basically straight up and then straight down. The Stevie Cohen news sometimes takes several days. This was not the Stevie Cohen news. This was some drug news. But right here, this was the Stevie Cohen. Stevie Cohen is one of the biggest hedge fund managers of all time, one of the greatest traders of all time. He's investing in a lot of these speculative biotechs. How did I know BNOX was going to spike? And by the way, you can see my trade on BNOX. Again, I'm not trading perfectly. I'm not trading great. I had a loss. I actually had a few trades on BNOX, but I had the biggest trade right here, a little over $2,000. And the reason why was because I dip bought it, but then I actually added to the position. Why did I add to the position? Because there was a track record of recent Stevie Cohen plays spiking, not just once like these patent plays, but spiking for several days. And I still played it too safe, but the reason why I had this big profit is because I relied on the other Stevie Cohen plays, and knowing that sometimes the news takes a little while to travel, people don't recognize it, and also BNOX is just choppy. So this was by far my best ad, where normally I say cut losses quickly. Some people were confused. They're like, Tim, you always say cut losses quickly. I adapt. I will cut losses quickly, especially on patent plays that don't have signs of, multiple bounces. But on Stevie Cohen plays, I will give it more time. Why? This was BNOX. The last Stevie Cohen play was CYBN. I bought the first green day. I actually lost money. I think it was one of these spikes. And it spiked up quite nicely on the Stevie Cohen news. But then for 2 days, it didn't do much. And then it was like day 4, day 5, day 6, day 7 that it spiked up the most. This goes back to my DVDs from years ago where I talk about billionaire plays, and I talked about Carl Icahn investing in a penny stock, and I, bought a stock. It was already up, I think, what was it, up 50, 75% already, and then I made another 50%, and then the thing went up 10 times, 1,000% over the next 2 weeks. So there's a long history of billionaire plays, whether it's Carl Icahn or Stevie Cohen. It's a big legitimizer for these little companies. Not that it always works, not that, the billionaires are always going to be right, but billionaires have a lot of money and they can invest in anything. So when they invest in these piece of crap little wannabe companies, that's a very good catalyst. And again, most people don't have stocks to trade breaking news. Most people aren't aware of these patterns. They don't study the past. They think that a DVD that I made from 5, 7, 10 years ago, they think it doesn't apply. So many just assumptions and laziness, so much laziness in this industry. And I get it. You're in an industry where people want fast money, but the most money, not necessarily the fastest money, but the most money that you will make will come from studying patterns, studying the past. I am nothing more than a glorified history teacher. CYBN, look at this. Big first green day spike on the Stevie Cohen news. Second and third day were red. So it was day 3, day 4, day 5, day 6 that really spiked the most. BNOX had 2 spikes before this. PRAX, this was Stevie Cohen news. And AGEN, AGEN right here. This was the weakest of all of them, but it still spiked up for 3 days. So you have several Stevie Cohen spikes all in the past few weeks. Why did I buy this other stock? After hours, VTGN. Terrible long-term chart, but it's spiking after hours because Stevie Cohen news. It's really not that hard if you dig into it, and we'll see how high it goes. I have a small position, but I like this, that it's such a terrible chart. There's a lot of short sellers who just like to short into any spike. And again, they're not wrong fundamentally. These companies are terrible. But what they're not recognizing is that these terrible long-term charts are turning into the best short squeezes. FEMY is a great example. This never deserved to go from 30 cents up to $4. But why did it do it? Because there are so many shorts here in the ones, in the mid ones, the low ones, and the high ones. And they'll probably turn out to be right 6 months from now or 9 months from now. It'll probably be back under $1. But why risk it? And I was buying this and I was giving some short sellers some crap. There's a bunch of short sellers in my community. I used to be one of the biggest short sellers of these penny stocks. And I've completely flipped because I see how dangerous it is. I've seen too many traders lose big. Remember, short sellers are under investigation. They like to pretend that they're all, high and mighty and better than everybody else. But it's short sellers who are under investigation, and they're all working together and sharing reports together. And it's a really shady world. I'm very glad not to short anymore. And some people say, why do you take it personally? I have to warn against shadiness. Whether I used to warn against promoters and people were like, come on, Tim, don't bust up the fun. Or now I warn about short selling. Not because it's a terrible strategy, but because newbies are not trained to handle such big spikes. And the short sellers who everyone looks up to, they don't show all their trades. They don't show their position sizes. Again, they're working with these brokers, sharing in commissions, sharing in locate fees. It's really shady. If you ever look up to any trader or any chat room or anybody who's polite, or especially somebody who mixes in like religious proverbs and stuff like that, like just ask them, what is your deal with the broker? What percentage are you getting from the commissions? How much did you make off these commissions by getting your whole little chat room and your whole little community where you pretend to be all nice and giving? How much did you make off this little kind of stealth deal that you have? Unfortunately, that is this industry. I have no stealth deals with any brokers, probably because I'm just too blunt, and I always tell people you don't have to trade as much as you think. I would rather you study more than you trade. But at the same time, I'm so motivated to create more millionaires. I have to be blunt AF. I have to tell you like it is. I'm not going to get into religion. I'm not going to necessarily be nice all the time. I'm just going to be blunt because I never had a teacher, and I always think, what do people need to hear? If I was just starting out, what would I have liked to hear? Or not even what I would have liked to hear, what I needed to hear. I won't always tell you what you like to hear. Some people are like, I don't want to hear it today when I get on like short sellers cases. I don't care whether you like it or not. I'm going to say it. I've got students to protect. I've got people to teach. And an added benefit of, ripping on short sellers is that they're so emotional. They're like these little toxic lepers living in their mom's basements. They're all unhealthy because of the stress levels. They have to wake up at 3 or 4 in the morning for locates. Don't even get me started. I used to be a short seller. I know the community. But again, the community has gotten more corrupt and shadier because, frankly, it's in part because of me and my top millionaire students. We made millions of dollars short selling. So a lot of people, gravitated toward this strategy. There's many more brokers. There's many more borrows now. But I don't think the risk reward is good. Okay. FEMY, some people are like, Tim, why are you hyping this up? Like, if you look at it historically, it's never held its spikes because we're living in an inverse world. Aside from Stevie Cohen plays, aside from, patent plays, the number one pattern that I've been trading recently is short squeezes. And the best short squeezes are the worst fundamentally flawed companies. And I know it's tough to accept, but it's because there's so many short sellers. And some people say, well, Tim, the short interest is low. Short interest is BS, okay? First of all, it's a month delayed. And even if it's a month delayed, it's still not accurate. Promoters used to say their 1, 2, 3 cent pumps were all shorted. They were complete liars. I don't believe short interest at all. The good news is that short sellers think that they're all better than everybody else, so they're very proud. So if you meet somebody like, hey, I'm Mike, I'm a short seller. Okay, Mike, I didn't ask what you did, congrats to you for partaking in the single riskiest strategy in the world right now. Enjoy your, they're so obsessed with, don't even get me started. Sorry. I get off on this because it's crazy to me how narrow-minded people can be. They say, oh, but dilution tracker says this. Oh, but the fundamentals are terrible. Yes, yes, and yes. They are terrible companies. Yes, they will dilute. Yes, they're probably going to fail in the future. That doesn't mean that it can't spike 10 times because of so many short sellers being this invasive species and overcrowding these terrible companies and inadvertently creating the biggest spikes. So these are the patterns I'm watching. Short squeezes and FEMY does come down eventually. Other plays do come down eventually. No different than NIR, which is a terrible long-term chart. You can't see it because it's so terrible. But over the past 10 days, you can see the patent spike came straight back down. DMK came straight back down. AGRI has already come down. It's the exact same pattern over and over again. It's just a question of whether you capitalize on it. So anyways, I'll post a link to Stocks to Trade Breaking News. I'll keep teaching. I'll keep, being blunt, and hopefully you can take advantage of it. Because there is money to be made. And aside from just the money, there's so many lessons. And really, if you use these lessons, if you use these tools and hone in on your, ideal patterns and really figure out like what's your best position size, what's your best time of day, you find out what works best for you, you can start to build the foundation. And then you can build off that foundation in the coming years. And when the market is better, when we get another mania, whether it's next year or 2 years or 5 years from now, you'll be better prepared to truly capitalize. Don't waste these breaking news plays. Don't waste the opportunity right now to really learn. Your future self will thank you. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think about these patterns, these plays. I'll see you guys in chat. You don't have to trade every day, but if there's a play, if there's a pattern that you see working more times than not, try it. Try it with paper trading. Try it with 100 shares. But at least just get some education from every play so that you can really build up your experience over time. Thank you.